We're gonna
We are live.
close the door, yeah? We're gonna-
Maybe we have
All right.
close the door. We are live.
Both boys. Here.
Do you want the bed? I have it. Okay, thank you. Oh, am I in charge?
I also don't want to.
I thought you were.
But I think you need to tell us what your problem is.
Oh.
Where do we start?
Senator Tommy, my problems are too many to go into at this late hour. I believe that the corporate copy is about to happen and the roads are gonna close, so
Yes.
I don't want
I'm
to spend.
figuring a half an hour for this, so we
Yeah,
can.
I was hoping maybe together we could go through and identify our differences.
Yes.
Though I don't know if I would call them problems.
No. Just
Yes,
what we did and why we did.
though anything you do that's different than what we do would of course be a problem.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So I wondered if we wanted staff to go through the differences, or would you
Yeah.
prefer I did that?
We have Kirby.
Yes, he's right behind
Staff.
you.
Kirby, you want to walk us through?
Represent the only. For the analyst and council, so is this little document, okay?
Well, that's all
Yeah.
document.
Swell.
It's small. I said that too.
Oh, I said swell.
Oh, it's swell. I thought I was like, it's.
It's hard to hear when he talks like it's 1961, but in fact. Representative.
Is it over? Sounds like it's there.
No, it's not saying.
No, we have to talk.
Because you can explain your problems if you were sitting here.
Now we'd be out at 4:30.
Let's,
The problems are we didn't decouple enough, right?
I think he's going to become a Senate position, yeah.
Okay. So, we have a document showing the differences between the Senate proposal of amendment compared with the as passed by the House version of H.933. And this one's
That's what APH means.
as passed by House.
Okay.
Usually people put SPOA for Senate proposal of amendment, but I just left the O out there for this
Okay.
one. Trying to give those
I
kind of
got the
thoughts.
Senate proposal amendment. It was the other one.
Let's see. What we have is, there's a new section 4A in the Senate version that, 4A, B, and C all were, requests from the tax department when it was, bills with the Senate. The first one is to allow, one owner or a, forester on behalf of an owner to sign a forest management plan for current use instead of current law, which is that all owners must sign. In 4B, allows a 30-day appeal period for objections to property valuation appeal made to PDR. Currently, the appeal period for those objections is 14 days. And tax has testified that, in some cases, due to delays in the mail, there were people trying to do this and they ran out of time. So we are asked for more time for that. In 4C, there's a repeal of, the grand list contents change that was in Act 73. As a reminder, this same repeal is in, I believe, well, there's a replacement language for this in Act in H.955 in Section 20. There's also a repeal of it in 955. So this would just be redundant with that. Tax asked for that because they really don't want that contiguous parcel change in there.
Oh.
This is the mapping related change.
Yeah.
Section 6 adds clarifying language that PBR will not value property is used solely for, it's the broadcasting changes, to the clarifying provision is added in the Senate version that radio stations basically are definitely not covered under the valuation under the section. And that section also includes the PBR fees for non-compliance. So those fees and this clarifying change would be pushed out to be effective in 2027 instead of 2026 with the Senate version. And section 19, this is the substantive part of the SGO. Section 18 is some findings on scholarship granting organizations and federal tax credit available for those starting next year. Section 18, the findings were not changed. It is in section 19, the Senate changed from the House version. The House version of this was that a version where Vermont would participate in the program, but the General Assembly annually would decide whether to participate, and the General Assembly would be in charge of identifying the SGOs that could be donated to get the tax credit. The Senate changed that to a version where the governor would be able to submit the list of SGOs, but the Senate added many reporting requirements that SGOs have to submit back to the legislature on data related to their activities. And it also includes a new provision stating that the Attorney General's office would monitor, and if there's any federal legislation, federal rule, or a court decision that made it so that Vermont can't impose its additional requirements onto these organizations, then Vermont would not submit a list until the General Assembly could react to that. Section 20 on the Senate side relates to the grand list data collection with previous parcels have the same ownership. This is the new version of the contiguous parcels mapping change. The Department of Taxes came in to win the bills with the Senate and asked to extend this change for one more year because they did not feel prepared for this change and how the grand list is done. So the Senate agreed and extended the effective date for that change to April 1, 2028. Section 50 of the Senate version was added by a floor amendment. This is the change relating to local option tax, and it allows collecting municipalities to receive 5% greater share of local option tax revenue in fiscal years following a fiscal year that ends with an $18 million surplus in kind of special funds. It's effective for October 1, 2026. Section 55 is most of the decoupling changes that were made to Vermont income taxes. The Senate made a few changes in that area. One change is that it addressed some technical issues relating to decoupling from the federal deduction for experimental procedures and research. This had to do with the transition in the transition years to the federal level that were certain taxpayers who were amortizing for 5 years, and they were going to be allowed at the federal level to catch up. So we had to add some additional language to make sure what the House had done matches the intent. So it's like technical stuff that I worked with the Department of Taxes on to make sure that lines up correctly. Another change the Senate made was to address taxpayers' ability to use Vermont's partial exclusion for capital gains income, like the multi-coupling from the federal exclusion pertains from sale of qualified small business stock. So there needed to be some technical changes to make sure that the intent of the House and the House floor amendment relating to this was followed, so that taxpayers who were able to exclude qualified small business stock gains at the federal level could nonetheless use Vermont's partial exclusion for capital gains. The Senate also added some clarifying language and fixed subdivision citation, decoupling stuff. There's some other technical changes. For any of this, of course, we can pull up the bill and I can show you specifically if you want to know more. So mostly it's technical changes throughout that. Section 55A was added on the Senate floor. This decouples from the federal exclusion of income from the sale of qualified small business stock, just like the House had done, except the Senate version has that done a year later. And this relates to taxpayers who in 2025 had already excluded this income. Under the House version, those taxpayers would have technically needed to go back and pay Vermont tax on that, even though they already filed their taxes for 2024. Section 59 increases the amount of downtown village center tax credit. The Senate version increases the amount of the credit to $500,000, and the House version increased the credit amount to $500,000. And then the Senate also added some clarifying language related to TIPs, the Burlington waterfront tip. The clarifying language states the city may retain 75% of the state education tax increment and 100% of the municipal tax increment, and requires Burlington to submit an updated tax increment financing plan on November 15, 2029. Ledge Council has testified that we understand that the statements in these sections reflect what as currently is the law, and there's not a change to the law. That's it.
Thanks, Chris. I just have two questions. One, the section 50, the pilot special fund. I would just love if we could line up testimony from the health department. Got a very strong worded email about it.
Okay. 58.
50. Your floor limit.
Okay. All right.
And then my other question to just understand why you made the changes is, there's a bunch of areas of this bill and a few other bills this session where I feel like we're really retaining legislative authority over tax policy. And in section 19, you release some legislative authority for tax policy. And I'm just curious your maybe thinking on that.
Okay.
Whatever works for you, Senator.
The committee's thought was we're working from a bill that came from Senate Ed.
Mm.
And the proposal was that if this is available, right, and right now people in Vermont can take this deduction and send it to any place they want in the country. The proposal was that, and what's in the bill, is that Vermonters can do that, but it would be limited in Vermont. It would go to programs that would be academically helpful to underprivileged. I'm not sure what the correct term. Sure, yeah. Children that are educationally challenged, maybe socially challenged. And that it could fund things such as after school programs, maybe going to robotics camp in the summer, tutoring, things that children that don't have the means are deprived of, that children that have the means aren't. And that sounded like good use of the money. And we like that. I think the concern was that what if the Fed said, well, you can't do that? And I guess the worst thing would be some private schools might get tuition, some money for 1 year before we got back. And it was just a balance. And if they don't allow us to do it, then it's dead until we get back.
You said it was based on a Senate bill from Senate Ed.
Yes.
Did you all vote that bill out? And did you vote that bill out?
No.
I lost track of it.
No.
It's on my wallet.
No.
Okay.
No, it's up there somewhere,
Okay.
under the bills we didn't.
I like how you say the day that you're doing things. I want to take that.
That is
Charlotte, that's amazing.
And we have lost
So Susan.
Senator Chittenden, who put all the excess thumbtacks in the shape of the state of Vermont because just random thumbtacks bothered.
Good to know.
So we organized them.
I see what you're thinking.
I know, I'm not thinking of that. See, if always having tomorrow as being a label of there.
Now, those were today. Those are today, we didn't vote out, but I think we've reached agreement on one.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions right now. I think there's other areas of disagreement that we should discuss, but those were the
I think those,
two that I was the most curious about.
I mean, the one, other than that,
The downtown village center tax credit is of course, a big
we
difference.
did that, it's in the budget, I assume it's also that if we wanted to be consistent, so we did it in this bill, I think they're fighting that one out in the budget.
Yep.
Committee.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I was wondering if Kirby could, I know this is fairly technical, but in the transition for research and experimental expenses. Just show that in the actual language. I don't remember that, if that was the catch up and then the amortization, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up. We had to actually add some provisions because, what we worked out. When I say we, tax not working together to make sure it all works together. What we originally worked out had us overlook that the transition where, some of the businesses could catch up in amortizing, but some had not, or had not chosen to amortize. And so one issue was those that had chosen not to amortize the way we wrote it, it's possible that they could double dip, so to speak, in that they allow the new options that were available. In the changes we made, but they had been advertising anyway. So that was like the kind of things that we had to make sure our language accounted for.
Okay, we don't have to go over to that, but it was just, that helps, yeah.
So don't pull it up.
Do it, staff.
Yes, perfect amendment.
What? Yeah, so there's, I mean, it was highly technical. Yeah. Staff, as they work on it, several of these found things that had been missed. And as did the tax department.
It was from beginning to end, it was a really incredible collaboration between tax department and our staff.
Yes.
It's super appreciative of that. I don't want to spend too much of your time today. I know that you all have had a really busy, productive week, and we are grateful for that.
See?
Yes.
Thank
Do we want to pick another time now, or Charlotte would like us to pick another time now, so she doesn't have to email about it.
That's true.
She made me excited.
1 at 9 tomorrow morning.
We do. Maybe Tuesday?
Sure. You want to do 9 or on the floor 10 to whatever we finish the calendar. Do you want to try 9?
No.
No,
Can't do
that's right.
No, normally I can't get the kids up
That's right.
here, but
What if we did closer to the end of the day on
Yeah.
Tuesday, like 3 on Tuesday?
I don't, yeah, that's cutting. I've still got all of,
Oh, you still are, okay.
I've still got bills. They keep getting sent to us.
Yeah.
Or on Tuesday.
Yeah, you don't have to deal with 248A or any of those good things.
We have our own fun, don't worry.
So, maybe 4 on Tuesday.
We could do a short meeting at 4 on Tuesday.
Okay. I don't think this
Okay.
Tuesday.
Yes, let's do that.
You can just see.
Yeah,
what-
no, let it- Yeah,
Then we'll all go home.
It'll be good to see it.
unfortunately, we still won't be able to go home.
That is true.